I'd also say that hope is not lost, Lancashire fans. I am at peace with the fact that this season wasn't great. It's gone. And Harrison, even though you're looking like you don't want to speak to me because you have absolutely no idea and I've just sprung this upon you, what is your moment of the season?
That's a great question.
Fan of Basel, I'm a big positive for it, but I also fell into that trap of why is Chris Wokes taking the new ball away from home? Why are we doing this?
In the words of Michael Holding, ROMs.
They've been hopeless. There's no better way of putting it. They've passed 200 once, which was in the second test against Australia last winter.
Does that hurt you as a Lancashire fan? Does that hurt you having to pick a Yorkshireman?
No. Joe Root is an England man in my eyes. Was completely and utterly shambolic.
It was weird. It was like looking back to what it was in COVID times, kind of how cricket was played. It wasn't just kind of no one in the crowd. It was so kind of misty.
Hello and welcome along to the TCM YouTube channel for another episode of TCM HOWZAT, where we are going to be talking about all the biggest stories across the cricketing world over the past couple of weeks. I don't know when our last one was, maybe 3 weeks ago. And I've got Harrison Burridge and Rob Rush alongside to talk them through. We've got loads to get through since we last spoke because the season ended. And then it feels like the cricket's just kept coming because of the, I like the nice little graphic there. It just kept going because England, Pakistan and the T20 World Cup with the women's means that we are not short for choice and we don't have to, in fact, winter well. So let's get started and talk about the end of the season, pick up from where we last left off. And I'm going to start with something that pains me, but Surrey are county championship winners once more, and they were just unbeatable really for the entire season. Harrison, worthy winners at the end of it?
Without a doubt, I think I definitely predicted them to win. I'm sure you probably did yourself at the start of the season, and Rob Boy was the same as well. It's one of those, when you look at the team and the depth they have, it's inevitable in a way. And it was a little disappointing that after Somerset beat them, they then the next week went and lost to Lancashire, and it kind of spoiled a last week title race. And Surrey got the job done with the win against Durham, but I mean, you can't fault them. What Alex Stewart, Gareth Batty and the whole team, Roy Burns included, has built there is special. I guess the interesting period is ahead with Stewart leaving, although he is in some sort of mentor advisory role, but fully deserved. No arguments there.
No, are you sure? No arguments, because it does pain me a little bit. Yeah, come on. I was hoping for a clip of you.
I've accepted it. Had a few weeks.
You've accepted it. Is that because Hampshire managed to actually finish second? Is that why?
Yeah, Hampshire, fantastic team. That's all I'll say.
Okay, Rob, Harrison touched on it there in terms of Alex Stewart leaving. Do you think this will have any impact at all on Surrey going forward, or are we going to continue to see domination from them going into 2025?
I think there will be a change regardless, because there has been a change at the top. You know, you can't have a head coach or director of cricket be in a role for a decade plus. What is it? Win 3 county championships back to back. I think 4 in 11 years in that span. You know, obviously their dominance in overall in county cricket, you know, the T20 blast, constant, getting out the Southern Group into quarterfinals and finals day appearances. The One Day Cup is no chance for them to get to bleed their youngsters and let them get game time. You know, with Stewart leaving, yes, it's fully, you know, I fully understand, you know, it's more personal for him. You know, his wife, I think, has got a bit of some health issues, so understandably taking some time to step back and be with his family. But you are starting to see it already. Ben Geddes and Conor McCurr have left the club. I think Ben Geddes has signed for Middlesex. Conor McCurr has gone back to Nottinghamshire after he spent, I think, 4 games on loan there. So you are now starting to see the slight changes that some of that depth that Surrey have had are now starting to leave, because yes, they can add a winners medal onto their cabinet, but they're not really getting the game time that they want or need at this stage in their career. And like I say, ultimately, if you have any sort of change after 11 years, it's going to have some sort of instability. And the fact is, arguably, the most important position at director of cricket, you know, Gareth Batty, Rory Burns, the entire coaching staff down there do an incredible job. but you lose the most important part of that and the most important figure. And you've listened to all the Surrey players and everyone in the English cricket media talk about it and how influential he's been, etc., etc. Next year is going to be interesting because I could see Hampshire making a title charge. Somerset, I think, will be up there again. You know, you can't rule out Essex potentially making a charge. You know, Surrey, they already had a target on their backs, but I think that target's just got even bigger. And other teams are going to start to smell a little bit of blood because Surrey are having to make that change. I think one other stat from their season was that only 2 players in the end ended up playing every single county game, and they were Dom Sibley and Rory Burns. So that goes to their strength and depth. But as I said earlier, some of these fringe players are now starting to leave in order to go get opportunities for regular playing time elsewhere. So, as Harrison said, worthy winners. You know, I think everyone who had, you know, an interest in the county championship at the start of the year predicted Surrey to win it again. But next year is going to be quite interesting for sure.
Well, it is going to be interesting, but it won't be interesting for Lancashire fans because we've been relegated. I think it was the inevitable result. We talked about some of their issues in the last episode. Kent also getting relegated. Harrison, do you think that's the two? Don't start smirking when I'm not even asked the question yet. Do you think the right two teams are going down? And do you think they'll just come straight back up, please?
The last bit's a difficult one, but definitely I think they were the two worst teams across the season. Probably Nottinghamshire were lucky. Lancashire and Kent were around this year because they didn't exactly put themselves about a lot either, but it was quite ironic. Nottinghamshire won the week Lancashire beat Somerset, which kind of kept them up in the end with all the rain around that last week. But in terms of bouncing back up, it's going to be very difficult. We've seen it in the last couple of years with teams that have gone down anyway. Both teams were in need of a severe clear out and rebuild, it seems, and kind of a change in focus on how they want to play their cricket and how they want to operate. I'd be hard pressed at this stage to say they'd both come back up, or even if one would come up, just because of the amount of change I think both clubs can have to go through. And the Kent have been in a decline for a few seasons, it's fair to say. This relegation was coming. It's really amazing they have remained in Division 1 for so long. And for Lancashire, I mean, it's been a rapid decline this season under the new coach. And I mean, according to all the members and stuff, something needs to change, but I'm not sure something will.
I think Kent were also struggling last year. You know, I think it got down to the last couple of weeks. They pulled out a win from nowhere that basically kept them up. But they were just as bad last year with the bat, and this year, I think they ended up with six lower batting bonus points than Lancashire, who you two were the lowest, Simon, in terms of batting bonus points across the year.
We won second.
Yeah, you won second place.
Yeah.
But it's just not sustainable. You know, when you're asking your bowlers to have to go bowl into second and third spells on day 2 after your batter none-up's been skittled, you know, it's just not how you go about your business. You look at sides like Durham, you look at sides like Surrey, Hampshire. They get the first inning, more often than not, they get the first innings runs on the board that give their bowlers time to then go and bowl teams out and get the bonus points. And the most important thing is most of those sides, their bowlers aren't bowling on day 1 when they've won the toss and batted or been put into bat first. Normally, at the end of the day, they're still batting, which is where teams like Kent, Lancashire, Notts to an extent, it's so much more difficult for their bowlers because they're being asked to bowl longer. So, yeah, I think, like I say, the Kent one was probably... I think most people could see it last year, and when you know you can't get batting bonus points this year, it was always going to be tough. Lancashire, I think, is the more interesting one because you kind of sleepwalked into it in a way. From an outside point of view, it kind of felt like mid-season you're about 5th, 6th, you know, but not really at threat of being pulled into a fight, and then you know a couple of bad results and you pulled into it. But that's what happens. That's what happens in the county championship. That's why we kind of love it, because of the jeopardy. And, you know, I think again we got down to like those final 2 weeks, and I don't think anyone starting those last 2 rounds, no one from 6th to 10th was mathematically safe or mathematically relegated. So you have 4 or 5 teams trying to stay up. So yeah, it's unfortunate for Lancashire. Already again starting to see some players leaving. I've seen George Lavelle leaving when his contract expires at the end of the month. No doubt there'll be a few other players that leave. I think David Lloyd Bumble, I think he had a very good point about Lancashire's big earners not really playing for the club. Liam Livingston, Phil Salt, Joss Butler. Obviously, players are going to go off and do their franchise stuff. That's fine. But from Lancashire as an investment point of view, yes, they're tied to central contracts, but you still need some return on the players that you have on your books. You know, Hampshire don't have a lot of international call-ups, but, you know, Liam Dawson and James Vince, international quality players. I can speak for Durham this year. We've had Matty Potts a lot more than we were expecting. David Bellingham, we've seen him a lot pretty much whenever he's been around. Whenever he's been available, he's been playing. So, you know, Essex, again, international quality players, maybe not seeing them, but they're getting the return on investment because they're playing for the club and they're putting in match-winning performances. Lancashire, apart from maybe Keaton Jennings at times this year, maybe Matty Hurst, haven't really had that. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting winter. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in terms of recruitment rather than players just leaving. I want to see who they're able to bring in. But they do need to avoid a situation where the club is too big but gets trapped in Division 2. So, as I think we alluded to last episode, it's a very interesting conversation to happen over the winter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just pick up on a couple of things you said there in terms of issue with international players and players who go around doing franchise. I think it's very interesting listening to Daniel Gidney speak about this because he's been out in the media talking about how frustrated he is that the counties almost sign these players but don't have the power to make someone play for the county, and they can just go and do franchise stuff. So I think that's an interesting one to watch. I'd also say that hope is not lost, Lancashire fans. I am at peace with the fact that this season wasn't great. It's gone. It's in the past. And I think people do want to see changes happening, but I think hopefully the strategy will be more coherent. And I think a lot of things just didn't go our way this year. From Nathan Lyon signings, the overseas signings strategy was a bit all over the place. We didn't get the people we wanted, and with a new coach, it's always going to take time to bed in. That said, still no major trophy since 2015 when we won the Blast. And that is difficult because that is my entire existence as a Lancashire supporter, and no silverware, which is not that great, really. Maybe it's me. Anyway, a positive note, I think you're seeing the intent that they want to go about next season by re-signing Chris Green, who's been a great player for Lancashire this year. And I think him coming back into the side and having that stability of him, because he's been there last year and we know what he's capable of in T20 cricket, is a very small step on the journey back to redemption, but it is at least a step. Harrison, let's move on then to talk about Division 2 and the two teams who have gone up from there, Sussex and Yorkshire. Firstly, on Sussex, what a story down at Hove in the past couple of seasons. I mean, from where they were a few years ago to now getting promoted and doing so well across all the competitions this year, it's been a stellar season for them, hasn't it?
Absolutely, and it's clear evidence of what can be done when you've got everyone aligned on kind of the project you're building and a clear vision. That's happened for a couple of years. They said, okay, a few years ago, we're going to clear out the players we don't want. We're going to believe in the youth that we've got and what's come through the academy, and it's bearing fruit. Tom Haynes, believe, is the captain of the county. We may not be, but he's playing a big part. Tom Clark.
I think he's only one now. He was all season. He was all formats captain a few years ago, but I think he's given them up, or given two up.
But you got him, you got Tom Clark. They had Ollie Robinson around a lot this year, which has undoubtedly helped. Great overseas signing in Jadav Nadkat and Jaden Seals. I mean, that, particularly what you've touched on it there, Lancashire didn't get their overseas signings right for whatever reason, under their control and not in their control. But Sussex have nailed it with two bowlers. They went out and said, right, we need them. They're going to help us. And they were massive. But you got that local talent. I think Henry Crocombe's in that bowling attack. They signed John Simpson, I think, who Rob may have touched on a lot in the last episode, who's been superb. I don't think really you can describe the impact he's had coming into that side and doing what he's done. And I think it's a real feel-good story of having Paul Farbrace there leading them as well. And you want, it's like Worcestershire when they came out this year, you want to see them come up to Div 1 and establish themselves because they've got all the right intentions.
Yeah, it's a positive story for them. And then Kel Surprise, everyone predicted it at the start of the season. Yorkshire are also coming up, which means the White Rose are in Division 1 and the Red Rose are in Division 2, and they're swapping places, which means no Roses match in the County Championship again next year. I digress. On Yorkshire, Rob, do you think they will strongly stay in Division 1 now? Because there's been a lot of change at the club recently. Lots of new regimes, lots of stories, lots of headlines. Do you think they can cement their place in Division 1 this time?
That is the question. That's the kind of $1 million question everyone wants answering. They've just had Chahan being called up into the England White Ball squad for this upcoming tour of the West Indies. So that's another positive storyline for them in kind of this year. I will admit, as much as people want to dunk on Yorkshire, it's been nice this year not to have as much negativity surrounding the club. Obviously, no one should ever forget the Azim Rafiq scandal and everything that's gone on at the club there. But it does seem in a way this season they have turned a page. Obviously they've been helped massively. They've had Harry Brook and Joe Root around a lot. They've had Johnny Bairstow at the back end of the season. I think Otis Gibson leaving was probably based on the start of the season rather than the finish to it. They kind of made that call very early that he was going to leave. They brought in Anthony McGrath from Essex, who is a Yorkshireman through and through, so he's going back to his home county. I found it quite telling that Essex were very sorry to see him go. Everything that's come out of Essex since he's left is how popular he is. So I think Yorkshire may have struck gold there with their head coaching or director of cricket replacement for Otis Gibson. But, I can't see next year being as easy for Yorkshire just because there is a massive gulf between Div 2 and Div 1. They are still struggling financially, so we'll see what effect that has on the overseas. They're obviously now preparing for a women's Tier 1 side coming in 2026, which again is more positive news. So look, it was a rather mad sprint to the finish for Yorkshire, but those last 4 or 5 games, I don't think they lost a single one, and they picked up the points they needed. And kind of going into that last week, Middlesex needed an absolute miracle, and they got the first 2 days washed out. So commiserations to Middlesex. But Yorkshire, I think, deserve it for the sprint to the end. As I say, it will be interesting next year because while I could see Johnny Bairstow being around quite a fair bit, you probably aren't going to get Joe Root and Harry Brook playing as much county cricket. So I'll have to see. It's one of those ones kind of, again, everyone predicted Surrey as a slam dunk winner for Div 1. I think Yorkshire were a slam dunk promotion candidate. So it's good for them that they've only spent 2 years in Division 2 rather than getting stuck down there for 3, 4, 5 years and kind of getting trapped. It does make Division 1 very interesting next year if you are trying to pick 2 teams out of the 10 that you pick as relegation candidates. It is pretty spicy in there now. Congratulations to everyone at Yorkshire for getting back up to Div 1, and we'll see how they do next year.
Nice report. Right. Very concise as ever. Anyway, let's move on to the One Day Cup. As we know, that was another big thing. We were all so excited about it. And then, obviously, September weather came in the way, and it all fell apart, really, because the One Day Cup final ended up being played on a Monday in term time with basically no fans, and it was a rain-reduced game. So I think we're all agreed, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob or Harrison, that can't happen again. Harrison, what did you make of the weirdest One Day Cup final in history?
It was weird. It was like looking back to what it was in COVID times, kind of how cricket was played. It wasn't just kind of no one in the crowd. It was so kind of misty and gloomy. And I mean, they got the game in with about 5-10 minutes to spare, I think, as well, before the next shower came in. So fair play. I think that's an important point. Fair play to the umpire and the captains at the start of the day for deciding, right, it's a 20-over game. We're doing that. Make sure we get the game done, and they did. But I think kind of it's one of the unique issues with cricket because normally you'd have the final kind of when the rest of the tournament is, which was in August, but we seem to have to wait a few weeks to be able to build up a crowd, which is fair enough. You want to give members and fans time, especially when it's in Somerset, in Glamorgan's case, they're travelling up the country to Nottingham to play. But you do wonder, what if that final was played in August? More than likely, been played on the day and to take full extent, hopefully. But it's just one of those unique things with cricket. We kind of wait. We like to wait. We like to do a lot of the tournament and then wait to have the important bit. Same with the Blast. Like, just put the Blast quarterfinals and finals day in September. No one will notice, kind of thing. Just do them when you're playing that block. I think that's a. I know. Don't want to get
we are the most patient fans in the world. Like, to me, I was trying to get Coldplay tickets the other week. Was successful, by the way. But sitting in a Ticketmaster queue for an hour, that is nothing. Try sitting for 8 hours whilst it's raining, and then you don't get it called off. That is the thing. We are very, very patient. But yes, it was a bizarre T20. I'm going to call it the T20 50 over, because that was just ridiculous. And I think, Rob, do you agree this can't happen again and the ECB need to schedule a bit better?
I mean, how long do we have here, realistically?
Very dangerous question.
I'll keep it as precise as I can. This is what happens when you shift the one-day cup to a B-side competition and, quite frankly, don't give a shit about when it's played or where it's played. I will give it kudos. They did have the foresight to go to a reserve day. Well done. You have a tiny pat on the back.
Yeah, but a reserve day on a Monday, I don't think that deserves credit.
I didn't say kudos for reserve day on a Monday. I said kudos for the reserve day. Overall, the reserve day on a Monday in term time is shambolic. But are we surprised at the ECB having the reserve day for the 50 over competition that they no longer give a shit about on a Monday in term time in September? In September, by the way, when England is susceptible to rain. The fact that we start the season first week of April and we're playing until the last days of September is questionable. Look, it needs to be better. It needs to be better organised. I think something along the lines of what Harrison said there, moving the Blast. And that's another thing. We talk about the Blast scheduling, the quarterfinals, the quarterfinals after the group stage. Some teams didn't have their overseas available for those quarterfinal games. And because of I forgot what the rule the player is named after, but because of that rule, you can't field a new player in quarterfinals if they haven't played in the group stage. So, the whole entire scheduling needs to be looked at. Everyone's been saying this for years. But overall, that 50 over, that was a shambles in terms of organisation. As you said, Simon, well played to the umpires and the captains for recognising what the situation was and ensuring we got a result out of it. Because it would be quite easy for them to be quite selfish and go, no, we won't play. We'll shake hands and we'll have the trophy to share. Like, it could have been very easy for them to do that. But no, they got a result on. They got a game on. They got a result. Glamorgan were better side on the day, bowled really well. Tim van der Houten is someone that's kind of who's been really good around the county circuit for the last however many years, just in all formats. So, happy to see Glamorgan get another one-day cup win under their belt. But the overall organisation needs to be looked at. But it won't be looked at because ECB have already blocked out the entirety of August next year for that 100-ball competition.
Oh God!
And the schedule dates are pretty much exactly the same for next year as they are for this year.
I believe they have moved the final.
I'm just going to mute him. Hey, this is a family podcast, I'll have you know. I'll unmute you now.
Screw you, Simon.
Oh, dear. No, we will, of course, I think we will. We've been saying it for a while, but we will do another full episode where we can dissect the schedule. Maybe
that's going to be like a 3-hour episode.
That is going to be a 3-parter because I think we all have different views, and it will take us at least half an hour. It might get quite fiery as well, but that will be in the works anyway. Let's just finish then talking about the county season by picking out a moment of the season for you. And Harrison, even though you're looking like you don't want to speak to me because you have absolutely no idea and I've just sprung this upon you, what is your moment of the season?
That's a great question. I'll put it as Sussex getting promoted and winning the league.
Okay.
That moment there.
Okay, that's a good choice. Rob, your moment of the season?
I'll give you an overall one, and then I'll give you a more specific one. Overall, I'd probably agree with Harrison. Sussex coming up, knowing what it's been like for Sussex the last couple of years. Really happy that those guys have come up and they got the trophy lift that they deserved. A bit more specific one, shock horror. It's Durham related. I wasn't there for it, but Durham,
hey, you've done quite well. We're 24 minutes in. I'm going to give you points for that.
Durham v Lancashire. Sorry, Caggy. David Bedingham, new club record of 279. So that's the highest individual score. That's the highest fifth wicket partnership with him and Colin Ackerman. And then to top it all off, second innings, Matthew Potts with the Kookaburra takes 9 for. And if you go back and if you see the ball that he was bowling with at the end, I don't know what to say to you. It literally looks like it's been mangled by dogs for 20 years. It's a ridiculous ball. So those are two standout moments for me. Not quite the highs of last year, but we'll see what 2025 has in store.
My actual highlight is, and this is going to shock you, I think, but watching Lancashire versus Somerset at the end of the season, because in a season full of misery as a Lancashire fan, the one day of cricket that I went to...
Well, you've got to see a Luke Wells ton, no?
Yeah, well, exactly. And the sun was out. Emirates Old Trafford was looking beautiful. There was a decent crowd in. And somehow we decided to... I was angry at the time because I sort of wanted Somerset to go against Surrey. But at the same time, it's more funny that we helped deny Somerset any silverware again.
If only Alex was on here to defend his case of Somerset coming third in the 2-horse race.
I know. I think the next time we have it on, I'm going to clip up the bits where he was so excited the last time we spoke after all the hope was there. And then we'll just cut to him and ask him what he thought. But no, the county championship match between Lancashire and Somerset, really good, high-quality cricket. Lancashire played well. It was the Lancashire we were looking for all season. And I felt hope for once as a Lancashire fan. That was my moment of the season. Right, still to come, we're going to talk about the T20 World Cup and the women in action because they've been doing quite well. But first, we're going to talk about England versus Pakistan, which is still going on. Actually, it's not going on now. We're at the end of day 4 when we're recording this, and it's been quite a weird test match, I think it's fair to say, because from what I can gather, and I'm going to, be honest, I haven't really watched much of it, but from what I can gather, everyone was going into meltdown on the first 2 days about how our away bowlers weren't good enough and how everything wasn't great and blah, 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 blah. And then we just piled on the runs. And now we're taking wickets and Pakistan are doing a collapse of all collapses. Harrison, it's been a weird couple of days, hasn't it?
That's probably the best way of putting it. I think it's taken the definition of slow burner to a new extreme. It's taken until kind of halfway through day 4 for anything in terms of really regular wicket-taking action to happen. I mean, I think some of the reactions to England's bowling display across the first couple of days were quite interesting to view, and especially now when you look back on it kind of in full context after Harry Brook and Joe Root have done what they've done and assisted by others as well. You kind of like, well, we've actually done quite well here to keep the home side in their own conditions to only 556. And I think that can't be lost in amongst what is very much likely to be a win secured tomorrow morning, and more than likely an innings win at that, which can't be sniffed at any place in the country, sorry, any place in the world, let alone on your away trips. But I mean, it's a weird test because Pakistan don't help themselves at home. They set themselves they give themselves these pitches that don't actually give them a home advantage, and it brings the away side right into it. And we're seeing another example of that in the last few days.
Okay, let's talk about England then, because wow, I mean, this Bazball project has been the most roller coaster ride, because one day everyone has their pitchforks out and is saying how much they hate it and how much it's dreadful and how much we shouldn't be playing like this. It's not sensible. We hate it. Everybody's rubbish in the team. Sack them all. And then the next day everyone's like, oh, we're so good. I always knew this was going to happen. Rob, in terms of bowling in that first innings, it did feel like we were a bit behind the curve, but then actually, it's turned out that our away bowlers are quite good. What have you made of the bowling performances? And I promise, in my next question, I will get on to Bryden Cast because I know you want to talk about him.
I think to start with, everyone did fall into that. I mean, I'll admit I'm a big fan of Bazwell. I'm a big positive for it. But I also fell into that trap of, why is Chris Wokes taking the new ball away from home? Why are we doing this? But like Harrison said, it's a definition of a slow burner. And ultimately, I think they mentioned it. I think Carr spoke to Sky after the end of day 2. And he said that we didn't get any reverse swing on that. And then you look at it today, it's reverse swinging after 25 overs. And I think that's the difference. That's the difference between days 1 and 2 of a test match and day 4 of a test match. You know, the sun's been beating down all 4 days. Things take time. You know, people need to learn to have patience. I know Harry Brook didn't show it. I know Harry Brook didn't have patience today with, you know, smacking everything around. But like, you know, as again Harrison alluded to, you put that Pakistan score in perspective. Pakistan were below par by quite a substantial amount. If they're now ending day 2, if they're ending day 4, 6 wickets down. Look, Gus Atkinson continues to impress. You know, England have definitely backed the right horse there, and it looks like he could lead the attack now for the foreseeable future. I'm not going to put a time limit on it because he can just go until he wants to retire. Chris Wokes looks as if he has improved. I think Sky were picking up on comms that the strapping he's got on his left ankle is maybe not giving him the same momentum through the crease as he would hope. But he also had this on during the entire summer, so I think it's a long-term thing that he's managing. So, you know, if Ben Stokes is fit for the second test, is that a change that happens and Jamie Smith goes back to 7 and then you know, how do you rejig your bowling attack? Shoaib Bashir is what you'd expect from a 20-year-old that's never played in Pakistan. You know, so, yes, he bowled that brilliant delivery first innings to get the outside edge, but there were a little bit too many loose deliveries. You could tell Jack Leach had played there 2 years before. You could tell Leach knew what to do, had the control. It's good to see him back in a England Test shirt. You know, and you know, you'll get on to Carson in a minute, but just a quick word before we do. Like, it's been what England have wanted from him. You know, I put a clip out on my Twitter this morning where I spoke to Neil Colleen, who's used to be Durham's lead bowling coach, is now a senior bowling coach within the ECB, and kind of he went through what they saw in Cast that made him want to get picked. I think he's shown most of it. You know, he's 6'6", 6'7". He's quick. He can get a lot of bounce. He's got the reverse swing going. He just won that delivery to Rizwan. You know, I think what everyone needs to realise is that us as fans are not, and this is very easy for say, I'm literally spelling out the obvious. We're not in these selection meetings. We're not selectors. We're not coaches.
Breaking news! We're not in selection meetings.
Breaking news! England might actually know what they're doing. You know, England might actually know what they're talking about. You know, so you know, I think everyone just needs to take a deep breath, relax, and wait for the results, because you've seen what the results are today. Yes, it's Pakistan. You can talk about their mentality and what happened against Bangladesh recently, but ultimately, England have still got to produce the deliveries. You know, Chris Wokes, first ball of the second innings, getting that movement. Cast getting that reverse swing into Mohammed Rizwan. Jack Leach introducing that edge to Jamie Smith took really well. Like, you still got to bowl it there. So let's just chill out a bit. England know what they're doing, and let's actually have a bit more faith. Because remember what happened the last time we went to Pakistan? We fucking won 3-0, racked up 500 in the day, set up the test match. Like, maybe England, guys, maybe England actually know what they're doing. Maybe. I know it's hard for people to fathom, but maybe they do.
No, Rob, we can't be doing this. We've got
sorry.
We've got to be fickle as England fans.
Am I speaking too much common sense here?
Yes. You're on. Remember who you're with. Yeah, we don't have any cricket knowledge. We can't do this. Yeah, I think you make some valid points there, and it's been, I think, in the words of no, actually, I've forgotten what I was going to say, so I'm just going to move on. It's gone. It's completely had a thought and it's disappeared. Listen, Robert.
Hey! Where's my cast moment?
Hang on, I'm getting there.
It's a slow burner, Rob. Slow burner.
It's a slow burner. Okay. fine, Harrison. You can just stay quiet for another 2 minutes.
No, let him go.
Harrison, what have you thought? My question was going to be: do you think this attack away from home is the strongest attack that England could offer, given the talent on offer, or would you have liked to have seen some other people in there who perhaps aren't there?
That's a tough question. I mean, I would have quite liked Liam Dawson.
Really?
No. I know. But I think that's probably when you look at it, the only glaring omission. Obviously, you can talk about the whole Jimmy Anderson being forced into retirement or whatever saga if you want. But I think when you look at the pace bowlers and you go into a place where it's largely unresponsive, but there is an opportunity for reverse swing and a bit of seam movement as the game goes on. England have targeted bowlers who fit that mould. Cast is certainly that, as Rob will get onto, but Atkinson has done a good job in that aspect as well this test. And I mean, as Rob said, Wokes, fair play to him. He's done what he can. I mean, yes, he was aided by a very interesting shot first up from Shafiq today, but I mean, he's broke through first ball innings with a bit of seam movement back into the bat, and it's worked. I think you find it hard when England produce performances and results like these to criticise their strategy, because it does seem like they know, as Rob said, they know. Ironically, they know what they're doing, and they trust themselves. And yes, there's a lot of talk and building for a certain series down under in, I believe it's probably just over 12 months' time. What's Ashes?
An Ashes? No, I've never heard of that. No one ever talks about that ever. No. But
they're building the right kind of battery of fast bowlers that you'd need. And yes, obviously Potts is on the sidelines and Stone is as well, and probably won't see Stone until the third test at the earliest, but they've got the ideas and it's working, and fair play to them.
Right. Come on then, Rob. Before I move on to talk about batting, wax lyrical about Bryden Cast. Go on.
I mean, I don't think wax lyrical is the right thing, but, obviously I'm not going to excuse what he got banned for because it was wrong and everything, but I spoke to Ryan Campbell about it, and there's, he's gone through a lot. He's come out the other side of it. I think it's always been there. The intrigue's always been there. And I'm speaking purely from the last 2 years of being around the Durham setup, and the intrigue's always been there with Bryden. It's just been, can he get fit? He's got fit now, and as I kind of alluded to just before, like, he's 6'7". He can bowl up to and beyond 90 mile an hour. Gets to bounce. He can more than hold a bat. He's got 2 first-class centuries to his name. He can, in terms of using a cliche phrase, he can hit a long ball. But ultimately, England, we saw this with the India Test series earlier this year when they're looking at release points. It's sort of that height gives them the advantage. They knew the pitches were going to be flat, so they need people who are willing to bounce. And the thing is, if you take Cast out of this bowling attack, if you replace him with, say Josh Hull, for instance, because Josh Hull played in that third test, none of those bowlers are really suited to bowling short. None of those bowlers are really suited to that short pitch bumper attack that England have had to go to. Bashir dropped a chance earlier today. They would have had Pakistan another wicket down by the close. So more so just, again, it's going back to that England know what they're doing. England know what they're talking about. And if you go back, if you go back and listen to conversations about what they're looking for, these selections make more and more sense. I know this will upset traditional fans who are there. I want Sam Cook in the side because he has the best bowling average of anyone in the county championship. Yes, but if you listen to what England say, in that his competition is, I think his competition in England have said is Mark Wood. Well, Sam Cook doesn't have Mark Wood's pace, does he? So that's where Mark Wood gets to go ahead, because Wood has the wicket-taking ability and has got the 90 mile an hour pace. So, it's more so just it's not so much of wax lyrical, it's just more of a, let's actually listen to what England are giving you as the reasons and then make sense of it. Now, if Cast flames out and doesn't become a test prospect, doesn't become a reasonable test player, that's absolutely fine, because England have tried to make it something. But as Harrison alluded to, they've been very open in that they're looking for 12 months' time down the road. They're looking for that Australia bowling attack. And Australia are going to have some flat pitches. They might not be completely flat, but they're going to have ones that have a lot of bounce in them. And I'm sorry, you can't rock up with a bunch of 79 to 82 mile an hour bowlers. That isn't going to work in Australia. It's been proven time and time again. So England are looking to expand the net. As I say, I know Brandon, I'm very happy for him to come out the other side and get his test cap. Hopefully he keeps going well. But yeah, it's terms of everyone sit back again, as I alluded to. Sit back, look and listen to what England are telling you, why they're picking these players, and it'll start making more sense. Have more belief in the system. Because the other alternative is we could be in that Joe Root test side where we'd won 1 win in 17, not going anywhere. We don't have days like we do today.
Sorry. No, I'm joking.
Oh, go screw yourself. But no, it's just one of those. It's just one of those ones.
Yeah.
It's just one of those ones, and no doubt we'll come on to talk about the batting now. And Harry Brook and Joe Root are just incredible.
They are. They certainly are, and we will get onto that. But just whilst we're talking about Brandon Clark, it did remind me of the time I actually saw him at Emirates Old Trafford once, and I was just thinking about. I mean, he's built like a brick shithouse, and which bowler or cricketer are you scared of? Because when I saw Brandon Clark, I thought, if I was a kid, I would not be approaching. I'm sure he's lovely, but if I was a kid, I'd be terrified of him. I'm still terrified of him now.
Gentle giant.
Yeah, I think he would squash me with his pinky finger. Anyway, I digress. In the words of Michael Holding, Rons. That's what has happened in the rest of the test match. I love reading this score because it's just absolutely ridiculous. Pakistan, first innings, 556 all out. England, 823 for 7 declared. And now Pakistan are collapsing. But we've got to start with Joe Root because, my word, is he just the best human being to ever exist? The best cricketer to ever exist? The best man in the world? Harrison.
Well, that's heavy praise potentially there. But I mean, he's having a fantastic year. It's whenever he walks to the crease, you kind of just strap yourselves in and settle in for several hours of Root batting, which, I mean, there aren't many better things when you're watching Test cricket at the moment. And it's not, I think what really kind of stood out from his innings and Brooks as well was the fitness the pair of them showed. Root was off the field for 8 balls until he got dismissed. I mean, to spend, 149 overs in the dirt field and doing a little bit of bowling and then come out in I think it was the second over. Yeah, it would have been the second over of England's innings and him bat until 262 and in the process become England's leading test run scorer and all the other records that were toppled along with the partnership with Brook. I mean, it's special. It's one of those things where you look at the scorecard and you kind of go, what? Because I remember when Cook scored his 294, I think it was, against India. And I think whatever score England finished then was kind of crazy. But we've gone surpassed 800, which is mental. There's no other way of putting it. And I mean, the fact they scored, I discovered it earlier, 267 more runs in Pakistan, and they faced 6 more balls in terms of overs. So that kind of typifies the approach of this England team and probably puts it into picture how well Root and Brook batted against that Pakistan attack.
And Joe Root, so he surpassed Alistair Cook now, the mark of 12,472 runs, which is just a joke, firstly. And then he just kept breaking more records throughout the day as he was keeping going. Interestingly, in his interview post-match as well, he just said, many more runs to get. Fine. Doesn't bother him anymore that he could, get past the likes of, Sachin Tendulkar, etc. I mean, I actually think that is on the cards now, which is just insane to say out loud. Rob, I found it interesting. Michael Aston and Nasser Hussain were talking on Sky, and they said this might be the last time that England's leading run scorer is surpassed in this way. I mean, he's special, isn't he?
Yeah, I think special is an understatement, but Joe Root doesn't do big celebrations, so it kind of, I think, suits him perfectly. Some other stats. I think he passed 20,000 international runs across formats, the first Englishman to do so, only the 13th overall. I think he went into the innings, he started the first innings 40 behind Alistair Cook or something like that. And because of that mammoth knock, has now ended up over 200 runs in front of it, which is just quite funny in an aspect. I think another thing as well, he hasn't, in his 12 years since he debuted, he's not missed a single test due to injury. So Harrison mentioned the stamina there. Like, the ability to keep yourself fit, you know, I think he missed the first test of the Windy series in COVID because he was becoming a dad again. But apart from that, he's played every single test match that he's really been available for since he debuted. That is remarkable in itself. And ultimately, I know you mentioned the Sachin Tendulkar thing of, like, can he chase it down? I just want to watch Joe Root bat. I don't really care about that runs chat anymore. He's England's greatest ever bat, and I think as much as we're seeing how good Harry Brook is not going to surpass it for me. Joe Root is England's greatest ever batsman and will be England's greatest ever batsman. Look, as I say, I just want to watch him bat. I couldn't really care about the top leading run scorers anymore because we all know where we hold him individually. At the end of the day, it's a bit pointless. You know, if everyone knows his class, I think, you know, he walks into any playing side in the world at any level in most formats. If you want to put him in all-time test debates, he's in there now. Like, at the end of the day, comparison is the thief of joy. So there's no point in now trying to compare him to everyone else above that list of Jacques Kallis, Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, Ricky Ponting. Like, no, let's just watch Joe Root bat because he's very clearly shown, yes, this is a flat, this is a road, this is like any motorway in England, it's a road. Let's just see how far he can take it because he's very clearly shown that he's not done yet. You know, he's got 2 more tests in this series. He probably won't bat again in this one. He's got 2 more tests in this series. He's then got New Zealand over Christmas and New Year. He's then got a 4-day test match against Bangladesh next year, 5 against India next year, then an Ashes test match. If you want to have an Ashes series, if you want one criticism of Joe Root, is that he hasn't been able to do it in Australia. I would bet a lot of money on that.
None of that. We're not having criticism of Joe Root.
I would bet a lot of money that changes this time next year when we go down to Australia. Look, this is
too much Australia chat. I'm against it, right? Not everything is about the Ashes.
This is incredible, and like Atherton and Hussein said, this record isn't going to be broke again. So now just enjoy the pure greatness that we're seeing, and the thing is, well, like Marcus Krasothic talked about it at the end of day 3 when he spoke to Sky about it. He's a technician of his game, and the ultimate thing is he makes it look like anyone else could do it, which is what is really, really like gratifying and annoying at the same time. Because you watch him churn out scores like this, and you go, "I could do that," and then you go behind the scenes. You go behind the scenes of all the work he has to do, and say, like, "Actually, no, I couldn't." And you know that's a testament itself. You know, how many games has he missed? How many? He's missed his brother's wedding because he's out playing Test match cricket for England.
Come on to that as a final sort of thought, which was, I think, my favourite tweet that someone put out this week was that at this rate, his brother's going to get back from his honeymoon by the time that he's done batting.
This is the thing, and this is how much sacrifice it's taken from him to get to where he is. So, you know, as you can, you know, praise him forever and ever. Like, England's greatest ever batsman will be England's greatest ever batsman. You know, and as I kind of said at the start, let's just enjoy watching him bat because you never know. You never know when it might be the last time. It's not going to be for a while, but you do never know when it is going to be that last time. So let's just enjoy it.
I can't deal with your answers today. Too much Australia. Joe Root's retirement. Hey. Harry Brook then. I mean, this is what I mean. We've just literally spent ages talking about Joe Root because he's amazing. But then another amazing player in Harry Brook. This England side's amazing. I'm just saying amazing now. I've lost me train of thought. Harry Brook, what did you make of his innings?
It was amazing, actually. I think it was coined a lot by the commentators. It was like watching Master and The Apprentice out there. You've got 2 lads from Yorkshire doing what they do on the international stage best. Obviously, one at the different ends of their career, aren't they? However long they've got left or whatever remains to be seen. But, I mean, Brook, to go on, and I know there's jokes about him scoring runs in Pakistan because he made 100 in each test last time we were here, but to go on and make a triple century, I mean, he joins an exclusive club. Not many have done that for England. I think that's that's pretty special and is testament as well to the talent and quality he possesses. And who knows how far his journey will go on the test scene or in any international colours for him, because there is that potential there. But again, he did a lot of running between the wickets for his runs. Stamina and fitness was up there again, and that's kind of what separates the best from the rest. And I mean, England can put down a lot of their work. A lot of the work can be put down for England down to Brook alongside Root.
Unbelievable from England then. A great time to be an England fan as well. Before we move on, let's talk about Pakistan, because what is going on? What is going on with Pakistan cricket at the moment? Harrison, I think you have something to say about this, don't you?
Well, the commentators mentioned it a few times, and in the second innings, whether it be the third innings or fourth innings of the game recently at home, they've been hopeless. There's no better way of putting it. They've passed 200 once, which was in the second test against Australia last winter. But before that one, they were bowled out for 89, and the other side of it, they were bowled out for 115. And then the ones against Bangladesh, they didn't cross 175 in either of their second innings. And then today they've come out and, I mean, they were 80 for 6. They've managed, or something like that. They've managed to get back up to something a bit more respectable. But there's a glaring issue there, and whatever it is, their mindset, their mentality. But England went back to the old tactic of, we're going to go past you and by a long way and hope you're mentally and physically cooked from being in the field for that long and suffering. And then we're going to try and capitalise on that. And it's the oldest trick in the book, and it's worked a miracle. And I mean, I don't know. Because when you look at that Pakistan's team, there aren't many you'd say, well, actually, you probably shouldn't be in the team. Albeit at the moment, it's a bit alarming in the last year. Babar Azam has no 50s and is averaging below 20 in Test cricket. That is one glaring issue they are going to have to either hope turns around or find a solution to, because when your main run scorer isn't even passing 50 anywhere in the world in Test cricket, you've got a major problem. And Pakistan have several major problems, and the sirens just won't stop ringing.
I think Sky flashed up a graphic of like teams batting averages in second innings, and England were quite low down there, about 27, 28. But Pakistan were their bottom of the pile at about 21. I think there are only two players since 2023. Harrison's just loses there. I think Mohammad Rizwan and maybe Saud Shakil are the only players that average above 30 in a second innings. That's just not good enough. And again, alluding to that, like this is ODIs, but Babar Azam stepped down for the captaincy. He then got reappointed the captaincy, and then stepped down again.
I love this sport.
All in the time frame that Pakistan have last played an ODI. So he got reappointed captain and gave it back up again before they even played in that format. It's something from afar is that I've always kind of looked at the constant chopping and changing of head coaches, selectors, everything. Like I couldn't tell you them off the map, but I know they've happened, and it's like change breeds instability. And if you keep on changing, you're never going to get fully stable. So I can't understand. I don't understand how the Pakistani cricket book works. I don't understand what the overall feeling is, but evidently nothing's working if you're chopping and changing this much. So I think that's the major issue. Everything starts from the top and it bleeds its way down. Obviously Babar Azam averaging 20 for the year is a big issue at number 4. Mohammad Rizwan, again, he's kind of he got bowled by Bede today, but he's the only one that really stood up in that second innings to start with and be accounted for. But the thing is, they had the blueprint from what they've just seen. They made 550. England made 823. They've just had the blueprint of how to go about, saving the Test match and it being a draw. Because that's what I think. Even as enthusiastic England fans as we are, I don't think most of us saw Pakistan being 6 down at the close of day 4 after England rack up 820 odd on a flat pitch. That was completely unheard of. Chris Woakes first up, very good delivery, thinking, okay, there's maybe a chance here. And then the collapse that happened, it's just like, they just need to sort themselves out. And it does look like they are going to lose this first test, unless their bottom, middle order and tail enders pull out a remarkable feat of batting a day with England coming at them with everything they've got. But look, something has to give in that Pakistani setup, and the thing that has to give is the chopping and changing. You have to have some stability at the top of your organisation, otherwise it's not going to work. It's why partly attribute England's Test success down to is that You've got Brendan McCullum, Ben Stokes, Rob Key. They all came in at the same time, and they've all been aligned since the start. And there's been, apart from the refinement of Bazball before the start of the home summer, what's the messaging been? Constantly, we're not playing for draws. We're winning. You're aligned. You're consistent. Pakistan, you're chopping and changing selectors. You're chopping and changing players. You're chopping and changing where you're playing test matches. That's another thing. The fact that Multan's hosting these first 2 test matches because they don't know if surely the guys know who put in the flipping, calendar that this venue's having some works done. Surely they knew there was a chance it was going to run late. So yeah, I don't know what's going on in Pakistani cricket. I'm not that on the inside. I think I'm thankful I'm not at this point. But something just has to give for that Pakistani cricket board and the Pakistani cricket team. Something has to give and something has to change. Otherwise, they are just going to keep going backwards.
I was wondering when Rob's rant was going to come into the episode, and we got it! Finally! Brilliant! Perfect! That's a segment sorted. Thank you very much, Rob. Look, we are going to leave that there, and of course, we're hoping for an England win. It looks almost inevitable now, but that's probably could be famous last words. If a miracle happens, then everyone can blame me. Right, we've been through a lot over the past hour, but we're going to finish by bringing back a feature that we had many moons ago. It's time to pick your hero of the week and your dick of the week. Harrison, first up, hero of the week. Who are you going to go for? I think this is a pretty unanimous / easy one for us all.
I suppose it's going to have to be that lad who scored 262 for England, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I think I'll go Joe Root. Yeah.
Rob, Joe Root?
Before.
Rob,
yeah, we'll give it Joe Root.
I'm going to go for Joe Root. So that was a good.
Does that hurt you as a Lancashire fan? Does that hurt you having to pick a Yorkshireman?
No. Joe Root is an England man in my eyes.
Also, because about Sky Sports graphic for Joe Root being the highest leading run scorer for men, and they had red roses behind it. That was quite funny.
Yeah, as they should, because he somewhere must have some sort of Lancashire relations. Maybe I'll do that. Dissertation. That can be my history project. I'm doing it on cricket.
To be fair, Root and Brooke are probably the 2 most likely Yorkshiremen who could go to Lancashire and get drinks bought for them.
Yeah,
and not get marauded out of the Lancashire county. It's quite funny.
I have been struggling with my dissertation, but I think I finally got the title. What can an assessment of Joe Root's family tree tell us about his heritage? Is he from Lancashire, basically? So that was an easy one. Who has been your dick of the week then, Harrison?
I'm going to have to give it to Abdullah Shafiq for watching England score 823 for 7 and then missing the first ball of the innings.
Rob, who's your dick of the week?
I think it's Sayum Ayub. Very similar. Pakistan have just lost a wicket the ball before, and then Bryden Cast comes into bowling attack. First ball should just be left, or you watch it. No, just flings his bat out there, toe ends it straight up to Ben Duckett at mid off. The ball after you've lost a wicket. What are you doing? You're 3 down, and you were 260 in arrears. Why the hell are you playing that shot?
I think I'm actually just going to give it to the entire Pakistan team for me, because the way they played, particularly today, was completely and utterly shambolic. So yes, it's not been a very good week to be a Pakistan fan. Right, that is all we got time for. If you enjoyed, please do like and subscribe. My thanks to Harrison and Rob for joining us as well, and we will be back in the next one. Who knows when it'll be?